The world was about to be destroyed, and only one person could save the future of humanity. Noah, an ordinary man in a corrupted world, was chosen by God for something extraordinary: to build an ark and ensure that life on earth would continue. While evil dominated the hearts of men, Noah stood firm in his faith, obeying God, even when everyone around him mocked him. What happens when a man decides to completely trust in God, even in the face of the impossible? This is the story of Noah, and what it teaches us goes beyond survival. It's about unwavering faith and redemption. Genesis chapter 6, the wickedness of humanity and God's decision. In the early days, after the creation of the world, humanity began to multiply rapidly across the earth. However, as the number of people grew, sin also spread. Man, who had been created in the image and likeness of God, began to stray from divine paths. Instead of following the Lord's commandments, people began to worship their own desires and live selfishly. Violence, lies, adultery, and envy began to take over human hearts. The earth, which had been created as a place of harmony and peace, was corrupted by the evil that was growing here. The Bible, to come and live in communion with Him and with creation, looked at the earth and saw the grain, tells us that the wickedness of man was great on the earth, and every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil, continually. Genesis 5. God's pain was immense upon seeing that the heart of man was filled with wickedness. He regretted having created humankind, for their actions had become an offense to Him. Despite all of this, God, in His infinite wisdom, did not give up on humanity. In the midst of all the destruction and evil, God saw a righteous man, upright, faithful, and God-fearing Noah. Noah was different from all the other men of his generation. He walked with God, sought to do good, and did not succumb to the corruption that dominated the world. Noah became a faithful man in a time of unbelief and sin. God then made a covenant with Noah. He revealed to Noah that the world would be destroyed by a great flood, a divine punishment to purify the earth. But God gave Noah a mission. He was to build an ark, a large boat that would serve as a shelter for him, his family, and the animals, ensuring that God's creation would be preserved. Genesis chapter 7. The flood, God's mercy and judgment. Noah, with unwavering faith, obeyed God's command and began the construction of the ark. For many years, he worked tirelessly, even facing mockery and rejection from the society around him. While Noah preached about the coming of the flood, people did not believe him and continued in their wrong ways. They surrendered to worldly pleasures and disregarded God's warnings. For Noah, however, there was no doubt that God had spoken, and he was willing to follow His instructions, no matter how difficult or misunderstood it was. And the construction of the ark, it was a great challenge. God provided exact measurements so that the ark would be made safely and sturdily. The woods used were chosen wisely, and Noah worked tirelessly to follow the divine instructions. When the ark was finally completed, God said to Noah, "Enter the ark, you and your whole family, for I have found you righteous in my sight." And so Noah entered the ark with his wife, his sons, and their wives. Soon after, the animals began to enter the ark as God had commanded. For every pair of animals, the Lord, He brought the living beings to preserve their species. The wild animals, the domesticated ones, the birds, and even the reptiles entered the ark. The earth was about to be purified, and everyone who was outside the ark would be consumed by the waters. With the ark sealed, the rains began to fall. These weren't ordinary rains, but rather a torrent of water that covered the earth. For 40 days and 40 nights, the waters rose and rose until they covered even the highest mountains. The world, which was once filled with sin and violence, was now being completely purified by the justice of God. Genesis chapter 8, the end of the flood and the new hope. After 40 days of relentless rain, the water covered the entire earth. The trees, the mountains, and the cities were submerged. The life that existed outside the ark was destroyed. Noah and his family were safe inside the ark, but the rest of creation was being purified. The waters began to recede gradually, but it wasn't an immediate process. Noah and his family were inside the ark, patiently waiting for the moment they could go out and see the renewed land. During this time, Noah showed an unwavering trust in God. Even though he didn't know exactly how long it would take, he kept his faith alive, believing that God had promised a new hope. When the waters began to recede, Noah released a dove to check if there was dry land yet. The first time the dove returned with nothing, but the second time it brought back an olive leaf in its beak, signaling that the waters were receding and the land was starting to recover. Noah knew that God's promise was being fulfilled, but the wait was not over yet. After another 7 days, he released the dove again, and this time it did not return. The land was completely dry. So Noah, guided by his faith, opened the door of the ark and, with his family, stepped out into a renewed land, a fresh start. The destruction caused by the flood had made way for a clean world, where God would once again establish His plans for humanity. Noah, in gratitude to God for salvation, built an altar and offered a sacrifice. The smoke from the sacrifice rose to the heavens, and God, touched by Noah's faith and obedience, made a solemn promise. He said, "Never again I will destroy the earth with waters while the earth lasts, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease." As a sign of this covenant, God placed the rainbow in the skies. The rainbow would be a reminder for all generations that God would never again destroy the world with a flood. God then blessed Noah and his family, commanding them to multiply and fill the earth. Humanity would have a new chance to live according to divine principles, but with the responsibility to care for creation and honor the covenant made by God.